Select Board meeting of July 8th to order. Please all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Chair's remarks. I don't know how many of you were able to attend the town picnic this year, but it was just awesome from beginning to end. I mean, there was a parade that had big trucks for the kids to look at and touch and climb on, and a couple of the farm groups with their horses. Jeff was driving a tractor. We had antique cars. We had select board members.
The preschool on a hay wagon.
Preschool on a hay wagon. The rec department squirting water at everybody that was high outside. It just was an absolutely fantastic event from beginning to end. The Penny Carnival was thoroughly enjoyed by the kids. I mean, there were just a ton of kids there, parents, everybody was laughing and smiling and just enjoying each other's company as a community, which was what our hope was when we reinstated the town picnic. I want to extend an extreme thank you to Josh Unruh, who chaired the town picnic committee, Seth Dio, who worked very, very hard to see it be successful, and Tim, he's next. Tim Forrest, I think his name is, from Huckle Hill Road, who sat on the committee, and Faith Jobin. They just did a fantastic job putting this event together. And also want to say a great thanks to our own Tim Arsenal Johnson, who was the DJ and just did a fantastic job. I mean, people just really enjoyed listening to the music. There were a few kids who was playing a lot of, well, I guess, to me they weren't oldies. To me they were music that was around when I was a kid. But a lot of the kids wanted to know if that was when music started. was when those songs came out. So it kind of let us know what the kids were thinking of our generation anyway. The fireworks were spectacular. I want to thank Energy for sponsoring the event. It certainly has helped the taxpayers. Just beginning to end, it was just an absolute fantastic day, and it's just so nice to see the community come together and enjoy each other's company and have fun. So thank you to all of those involved. And there were other people too, as I said, Seth, but the whole rec department. I mean, the kids volunteered for time. You know, they all wore those yellow shirts with fireworks and staff on them, and it just was a great time. So thank you to everyone. Okay, we will go on to approval of minutes from June 17th. That just seems like so long ago.
Doesn't it though?
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Oh, I move that we approve the minutes of the select board from June 17th, 2013.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and said, is there any...
As written or corrected?
I was just going to say, are there any corrections or...
As written.
As written, okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Chris, if you just bear with us, we just have a couple housekeeping things, and we'll be right with you. Okay, we will go on to bills and warrants. Our treasurer was on vacation last week. As you saw her picture on Facebook, she looked glowing and rested.
She's sick today.
And she was sick today, so. Ms. Harris, do you have a motion on the warrants?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve the warrants as follows. 26 SG, accounts payable for $36,909.26. Number 24S, payroll for $12,009.41. Number 25S, payroll for $12,215.71. And number 26S, payroll for $13,256.74.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and pay warrants 26SG for accounts payable, $36,909.26, 24S payroll, $12,009.41, 25S payroll, $12,215.79, and 26S payroll for $13,256.74. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we will have Chris up. And Chris, I apologize for making you come, but members of the board just kind of felt like we really didn't know what was going on and didn't want to approve a project in the town office without having a little bit more information. So please come on up and join us.
I totally understand.
Just because if we get any questions from the community, we really need to be able to answer them.
Well, I'd say any technical questions that you have, I probably won't be able to answer. I didn't draw the design, but Jason Butterfield from Sovereignnet is the contact. If I have a question, he gets back to me within the afternoon or the next day. So those technical questions would be answered by him. What I do know is this is a fiber optic project that the Department of Libraries in the state of Vermont has gotten a huge grant to supply public libraries with this connection. There's only 50 libraries, and it's going to be huge for us. It's going to be huge for us. So what they did was there are several different entities involved. There's the Department of Libraries, Sovereignnet, and then we get an independent contractor who will do our 6-cable Ethernet connection, which is usually Marty Grimes. I mean, we usually use him. We've used him in the past to connect our new printer. So what they're doing, what that plan shows is how the cable is coming in from the street to the building. From what I understand, it's going to follow the same path through the attic as our current wiring to our server in the back room. So there's not going to be a whole lot of different stuff going on. It's basically the same. That's about it. The project was supposed to be completed for all 50 libraries by June 30th of this year, and they've asked for an extension. Sovereignet's asked for an extension, and they were given till December 31st. The Department of Libraries is telling us it should be done by October 31st. So we're just trying to get our ducks in a row. That's all.
So essentially, what's the benefit for this project?
Well, right now, we're using Comcast cable, internet, and it's 6 megabytes per second download. With the internet provided, it'll be 100 megabytes
Wow.
per second. So it's huge. And we're not going to be on everybody else's line, because right now we share this, the Comcast has this group. So if everybody comes home at 4:30, 5 o'clock and gets on the internet, we're bogged down at the library. And I guess you guys know in the offices too, everything gets bogged down. It's gonna be totally separate. Our Wi-Fi is going to be, it's gonna be a lot stronger, and I know people sit in the parking lot right now and use it. And they'll be able to. I think Linda might have a problem down here because of the...
She's connecting to our, she's connecting to ours.
Connecting to our modem.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I told her, I said, if you have an issue, come upstairs, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you can come in the library. I'm always here before we're open anyway, so she can come in even a couple hours before.
Yeah, we actually have her hooked up to ours now.
Good.
I got her connected to our router here.
Yeah, so that's about it. It's just a project we've been working on for 3 years now.
So there's no cost to the town at all? It's all a grant?
The Department of Libraries, when they first wrote the grant, they thought it would be about $40 a library for equipment. I don't know where they came up with that. It ended up to be about $4,000 per library, and they've budgeted $4,900. We already have our so much equipment already that we just may have to pay for a few cables, which is like $100, but we have so much credit on that $49, it's not gonna cost us anything for the hookup. It will probably cost us around $80 to $100 a month. We were paying average $110 a month for our phone service, and $5 a month for cable, the internet.
That's a Comcast package?
No, the phone is Fairpoint, and then so when you guys went to the
Mhm.
whole building going Comcast, you took our telephone budget away, so.
But we took your bill away too.
You took our bill away,
Right.
absolutely, you took our bill away. And that's something else I wanted to tell you as an aside later, but you took our bill away, so now we have that money in our budget where we've been budgeting $1,200 a year for internet since we started this. We knew we were gonna be having this, so that it would be between $80 and $100 a month for the internet.
And it's already in your budget.
It's already in our budget, yeah, and I think we're even a little bit over budgeted for that. But what I wanted to say is when we did our budget and then we found out that we didn't need that money in our phone budget, we were under budgeted for our repairs and maintenance, and I knew that, and I knew we were gonna get stung with it. So I moved that, went to the board and said, I would suggest we move this $700 from here to our repair and maintenance, because I think we're gonna need it. And they were okay with that, so that's why our budget didn't go down the telephone line item, but it stayed the same, because we did level fund, pretty much level funded. So, that's where we're at, we're just, chomping at the bit, trying to, hoping this starts quickly.
Do you need anything signed, or you just need a
Um,
vote to approve?
I do need, does anybody have a copy of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Do you, Katrina?
I never got one.
No.
Okay, well, I attached it to the email that I sent to you.
Or some attachment.
Yeah,
I sent it to Patty, and I
I didn't have
attached it. Yeah, you were gone, and when you came back, I hadn't heard from you, and then I emailed you again,
Hmm.
and I reattached it, and then you got back to me.
Well, you can print it off. I mean, we can still vote, and you can print it off, and I can come in and sign it tomorrow.
Yep, I'm sure I'll have a copy upstairs in the office, yeah.
Because if it's something the state sent you, it really should be the original that's signed anyway.
Right,
Right,
right. I
right.
thought everybody had a copy and you knew what you were looking at.
I'll have to go back and look at the email, because I didn't see the
Yeah,
attachment.
I attached it.
I don't think my name was on the email. That's all I didn't.
Hmm?
I don't think my name was on the email.
I don't think it
No.
was. It
No,
was
I
just me.
just sent it to Patty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she was away and I hadn't heard from her, so I resent it.
Yeah, because I used your contact us on your website to email you, because I didn't have your email address.
Yeah,
So I got you.
so, yeah, I'd be happy to,
Well, like I said, it should probably be the original where it's a state grant. It should probably be the original that gets signed anyway, so I can come in and sign that tomorrow.
yeah, I think actually,
They just emailed you the,
yeah, they sent it as an attachment, I printed it off, so I've got a copy in the office. I would have brought it down, but I thought everybody had a copy. But that's basically what it is, very simple schematic, it's just showing where the line's gonna come from the street, and then, down into into the back room near where the server is. And that's another thing, we've got $10,000 in capital fund, budget that we're not gonna need for a server. I waived that 2 years ago. We were up for another server, and I said, let's not do that. We're not having any trouble with this one, let's let it go. And, so we've got $10,000 in there that we have to address at some point, probably the next town meeting. But I saved us $10,000 because we don't need that now.
so you're saying you don't need it now, or you won't need it
We won't need it, definitely won't need it for
because of
server.
this,
Yeah.
because of this?
Yeah, our server housed our catalog.
Okay.
Now we changed to a new automation system in February, and our catalog is now in the cloud. And
Oh.
we're with 50
Great.
other libraries in the consortium that are with this automation system, COHA it's called.
Is that all that's left of 50 libraries in the state?
There's 189 public libraries. We have more public libraries per capita than any other state.
Well, I knew we always did, but then you made that,
Yeah.
but I also knew that a lot of them were having financial difficulties, so when
Yeah.
you made that comment,
Not everybody signed up for the fiber optic project.
okay.
And this consortium started in 2007, I believe, the Green Mountain Library Consortium, with downloadable audiobooks, and we jumped right on that.
Mhm.
And so then they branched out a little bit more here and a little bit more, and then they went to this open source automation system. And as a matter of fact, it sort of gets me because now the state has decided they took 5 libraries in the state and they were going to try another open source automation system called Evergreen. And we couldn't wait 2 or 3 years to find out if that was going to work. We needed to change as soon as we did. And so they decided, oh no, we're not going to do Evergreen, now we're going to do Koha. And so they have their own little consortium, Department of Libraries, their own little consortium with these 5 libraries, and then there's us with 50 libraries. And so, yeah, I don't get it, but they have, theirs is a lot more intense to migrate to because they have to do all of the work themselves. Brooks had to close down for 3 or 4 days in order to do it. We were open the whole time. We didn't have to close down at all because our migration went through one of the implementation team members, so it was pretty
Sounds like it
easy.
was seamless,
It
yeah.
was pretty seamless, yeah. So we're real happy with it, and you know, we're just plugging along here. We ended up getting those new computers, and we're getting 2 more. Bill's going to order them for us, so we should be getting 2 more because we were behind in upgrading. So we're excited about this. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. You know, people are going to come in and boom, boom, boom. I mean, Comcast, the cable is fast. I mean, it's pretty fast. But you got to remember, I live out in the boondocks, and I've got a satellite dish, and it's almost as slow as dial-up. I was trying to connect today, and I'm going, oh my God, shades of dial-up here. But, you know, come in here, and it's like boom, boom, boom. It just changes. It's going to be that much faster. So.
Now, how is your census at the library? Are more people using the library? Less people using the library? I mean, what is technology doing to the library?
Oh, it sometimes creates havoc. Numbers are down for all libraries, and I believe in statistics, like really big time. I take a lot of statistics, and numbers are down. But you'd never know it if you were there. A week ago, last Tuesday, we had 77 people in the library. That's a pretty busy day. Today we have 41, and we're only open 5 hours. So they're not down tremendously, but they're down. So when we get a report, the Department of Libraries does a public library report every year, and then I go back and I look, and they list them by population size of towns, so we can go right to the 2,000 to 5,000 population, and we're right there with everybody else. And they even say, you know, don't be worried if your circulation has gone down. The circulation has gone down because of technology, because of the e-books, the audio books. It has made a difference. It has made a difference.
Now, for people who are, because surprisingly, a lot of people watch the select board meeting on Access TV. It shocks me all the time.
It doesn't shock me because they come in the library and tell us about it all the time.
So, how would an ebook? Because everybody I know has a Nook or a Kindle or an iPad.
Yep.
So, how does an ebook work at the library? Can you download a book at the library? Is that what you do?
We have the Listen Up Vermont website is, we can download audiobooks and ebooks. And the consortium has a committee that is a collection development committee, and they buy them. People can sit at home and go to our website and connect to Listen Up Vermont, and they can download an ebook at home on their device. They don't have to be in the library.
Now, does it just stay on their device for a certain amount of time, or?
Yes. It stays on their device. They can choose a 1 week or 2 week loan period, and it will stay on their device. If you think you're going to take longer than 2 weeks, and say it's just a regular Kindle, and you don't want to lose the book, you don't connect to the internet. Because as soon as you connect to the internet and your loan period is over, it wipes the book out. But if you don't connect, and it's over your 1 week or 2 week loan period, you can keep it on there.
See, I never connect to the internet on my Nook anyway.
Yeah.
Unless I'm buying a book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you keep your Wi-Fi off, you're okay, you can keep that book on there. And there are some books that you can load on there. I know, Amazon, there, you have an account with Amazon and then you just download. A girlfriend of mine told me this weekend that her sister just automatically gets all the Patterson books, automatically. And they're down, she's got 4 devices attached to this account, so everybody gets a Patterson book. And I guess that's okay, but,
I've read everything he's ever written.
yeah, so
I
you
get
know,
it.
they get it all the time. I mean, they constantly, because he comes out with, 7 or 8 books a year. So, they'll stay there. Audiobooks, if you download an audio to your computer, you do download to your computer first and then put it on your device. It's off your computer in, say, a 2-week loan period, but it's always on your device. They tried to tell us at the very beginning it's going to disappear off your iPod, and I went, no, you can't get to my iPod. How is it going to disappear off my iPod? And nobody could explain it to me because it's not true. It doesn't disappear.
So now, folks at home who, in Vernon,
Yeah.
who have a Nook or,
Yeah.
An ebook, whatever they're called,
Yeah.
can they come into the library and you would work with them to show them how to
We
do
do
that?
it almost every day. Almost every
I'm
day.
just plugging people to come into
Yeah,
the library
yeah,
for you,
no,
Chris.
almost every day. I mean, at first, we're a lot better now than we were at first because we don't all have those devices.
And every device is different.
Every device is different, so every time somebody in the consortium makes up a new rule or a new a sheet on how to do this or how to do that or the changes, we print them out and they're available to people. I have an iPad, so everybody that comes in with an iPad, they're sent to me. But we also work with Nooks, Kindles, to see the look on especially older folks' faces when you can and the book appears and it's like, wow. And then you increase the font for them so they can actually
right,
read it.
sure,
Exactly
Sure.
why I love it. I can read
Faces
it without
just
glasses, yeah.
glow. So, yes, we work with MP3 players, iPods, iPads, Nooks, Kindles, whatever people need. We'll help them with it. And if they don't do it all the time, they're not going to be able to do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So every time they come in, we'll just show them, and
Eventually.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, and we're happy to do it.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you came in. I know that you have your own board of trustees, so you don't
Yep.
necessarily come in front of the select board as a department head, but
Mhm.
I think it's great for folks who are watching this to hear about what's happening at the library.
I think people need to go to our website to see exactly the services that we have.
Now, what is your website? Sorry.
VernonFreeLibrary.org.
Okay.
And we also have what's called a calculator to go on, and it asks you how many books do you read a month? How many audios do you listen to? How many DVDs do you watch from the library? And it costs it out, and it shows you how much you're saving by using the library and not purchasing these items. Hundreds of dollars.
bet.
You would be amazed. It's hundreds of dollars.
So now on your ebooks and your audiobooks, are they updated books, like the most current on the?
Yes.
So it's not like the free books that they give you if you have a Nook, they give you free
No.
books and you go in and there may
No,
be 4,000 of them, but you never heard of any of them,
They're-
or if you
they're
did, you read them in high school.
Normally, the ebooks are one person at a time, one use at a time. So if you go in and you see a book you want, you put it on hold. They will email you when that book is available, when your turn comes. They email you. You have exactly 72 hours to the minute to read that email and go in and download that book.
Oh, otherwise it skips to the next
That
person on the
doesn't-
list.
Oh, that's interesting.
But you put your email address in and they email you and let you know it's there. Yeah. So.
That's pretty
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And our new automation system will email you 3 days before your book is due if we have your updated email address, which we've been trying to get from everybody. It will email you 3 days before your book is due, and just give you a reminder that your book is due in 3 days, and then when the day the book is due, they'll send you another email, so it's automatic. So we're actually saving money by not having to send out overdue notices every month, which was huge cost.
Mm.
Huge cost. But on the other hand, since we've gone to this open source, other libraries in the state know what our collection is. Last year, we loaned 13 books to other libraries. Pathetic. 13 books. Since February 16th, up until last Wednesday, we loaned 90.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Because the Department of Libraries was so far behind in adding acquisitions to their catalog, the state catalog,
Mhm.
that 2.5 years ago, the list that I sent them still wasn't in their catalog. So nobody knew what we had.
Well, in fairness, and I have to defend the Department of Libraries, having been in Montpelier for so many years, when budgets start getting cut, unfortunately, those are the kinds of budgets that get cut the most.
Oh, absolutely.
And the hardiest.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
they're doing a whole lot more with a whole lot less, and this has
Yeah.
been an issue for
Yeah.
a lot longer than 2 years.
I'll tell you, Marty Reed has done a wonderful job. She is a great, great administrator. She's done a great job. And she is as involved with the little people as she is with the big people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's been great. So, we're just, it's a business that, you know, is affected a lot by technology, heavily by technology. And we have to keep up with it every day, every day. I have to say, we have a new assistant, who is my daughter, who I had originally would call her up when she was 12 years old and say, listen, I'm doing this and this on the computer. How do I do this or how do I do that?
My
Yeah.
grandchildren
And
all
now-
the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And now she's there and people are at the computer and she's there, she's got them printing, she's got them doing this, she's got them doing that. And she's just so good at it that it's really nice to have a young, fresh face with somebody that's got all that technology.
Yeah, the
That
kids are
knowledge.
just so great
Yeah,
with it.
she does really, really well. So it's been an experience. It's been an experience. And I'm in my 7th year here
That's amazing.
already.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's really interesting, Chris, and, you know, to folks who are watching it, you know, please go in and use the library
Oh,
because it's what our
absolutely.
tax dollars are paying for, and, like you said, it's expensive to buy. I thought, when the ebooks first came out, I thought it was gonna be so much cheaper to buy an ebook because you're not getting anything, you're just downloading something.
Yeah.
And
It's all
they're just
data.
as expensive, actually
Yeah.
more expensive, because you can find the books on sale,
Yep.
but you
And-
can't find the ebooks
Right.
on
And you know,
sale.
the publishers, some publishers, not all of them, some of them have restricted the sale of ebooks so that, and the usage. So if I don't wanna say it's Macmillan, but I think it's Macmillan, they'll sell you an ebook, the consortium an ebook, 26 users get to use it, that's it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's another
Of course.
industry that's dying because
Yeah.
nobody's buying printed, everybody's doing everything electronically.
So
they're trying
it's,
to
yeah,
save
you
their
really
industry.
have to, you really have to be on your toes when things come through. You have to know how many uses people can get. And, you know, there's people emailing us all the time or calling. You know, I'm here on the website and I tried to go here and I can't, and so we walk them through it and then we get them through it and they're really happy, so.
So let me ask you one more question. You've got 50 libraries in this group, and they're the ones that share the ebooks?
Yes,
So if a publisher's saying only 26 books, those 26 books have to be shared amongst the 50
Yes.
libraries. So how long does it take to get a book? I mean, if it's a real popular book, could you have to wait a couple months to get it?
oh, yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's not unusual, huh?
yeah, it's not unusual, yeah.
But you can go to the library and get it
You
most times,
can
too.
go to the library
Besides
and get it
getting the
because, especially if it's popular and
Mhm.
it's a new release, we have a great collection. And it pleases me to go in and see, we get a publication called The Book Page every month. And they
I've seen
list
that
the
at
most, yeah,
Schoolhouse,
and
you can
it's
pick that up,
great.
yeah.
It's a great, not a lot of advertising and they really do promote these books. And, but if I go and look at a bestseller list or something like that, I can go, yep, got it, yep, got it, yep, got it, yep, got it.
That's great.
So, yeah, and that's what people are looking for. We buy what people are reading and what they're looking for.
Now, the state library has a lending library, right? If somebody comes into the Vernon Library and there's a book that they want and you don't have it,
Yep.
you can get that from the state
Through
library.
Well,
Most times, not everyone.
They've closed down the 3 out of 4.
They have, huh?
Yeah. So
They
the
had
only
closed down one before I
the only
left.
library that's state now is Mid-State, and they used to say, go to the regional libraries to borrow the books first, and then hit the other public libraries. Now they're saying hit the public libraries because there's just Mid-State, and that's how we do our interlibrary loans. We borrow, I think we're up to maybe 130 books that we've borrowed in the last fiscal year. And it's disappointing to a lot of libraries because you always borrow more than you lend. I don't think that's gonna be our issue this year. I think we're gonna lend more books than we borrow, which is really makes me happy.
Mhm.
We try not to lend any new books. We try to keep them for at least 6 months in the library before we loan them out. So our patrons can get to read them first. It used to be a 3-week loan period when I first started, and I talked to the board and I said, we gotta cut it back to 2, because people are taking them for 3, they're keeping them an extra week or 2, so a brand new book maybe gets read by 2 people in 2 months. That's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So we have a 2-week loan period, no renewals on the new books. So-
Oh, okay.
And it works. People are not offended, they work with it, and they take out fewer new books at a time.
Right, because they actually read them as soon as the
Because
wind,
they
yes.
have to read them as soon as they get them, instead of taking 5 or 6 off the shelf and keeping them for 3 months.
Mhm.
So we've kind of worked around that. So, yeah, I wish everybody would come in and see what we have, and go to the website, and see our services, and I think they'll be pleased. We're just changing the look of our website too, hopefully by the end of the month.
No, you'll be hooked on, because we're in the process of doing the website, but you'll be hooked,
Will be a link? Good.
Yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely,
Good.
yes.
Good.
which will help
Perfect.
people too, because they can go into the Vernon
Yeah.
website and link right onto the
Yeah,
library.
that'll be perfect, yeah. It'll work.
Well, thank you very much for coming in,
Well,
and,
thanks for
you
having
know,
me.
rather than to just have you come in for 2 seconds about whether or not, we have to take the vote, or whether or not we're gonna sign something, and now you get to do
Yeah.
a free advertisement
Yeah,
for the Vernon
I'm
Library.
glad. We're proud of our library. It's a great library.
Motion?
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Make a motion that we approve and authorize and thank the library for the fiber optic coming in, and authorize the chair to sign the document.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and authorize the signing of the document for fiber optics, in the library. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If what
Thank
time are
you.
you open? Oh, you're not open tonight.
I didn't even work today.
You could have sent in a trustee, you didn't have to come in.
Oh, no, it's better. I'm here. They would have went for what? In
Yeah, I know.
every meeting
I was
we
at
talk
town
about
meeting.
it. Every meeting we talk about it, you know, because there's progress every time. I'll sit there and they'll just look at me and I'll say, yeah, we're doing this. It's, you know, it's okay, we're doing it. No, I couldn't. If I'd known earlier, I would have worked today and taken Wednesday off. But that's okay. I'm very rested because I've been off since Thursday. I haven't taken a vacation in 13 years.
Oof.
So I just had from Thursday to today, so. But it was a big birthday weekend for us.
Good for
I'm
another 13 years.
good for another 13 years. I'm ready to go for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Yes, but thank you all very much.
Oh,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And please come in and see us.
Well, you know,
Okay?
we just advertised for you, so
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
you.
Well, I
more
want to see
people-
you guys too, because I know that there's something there for everybody.
Oh, I read nonstop.
I do too. And we've got a reading group, second Thursday of the month. So we're always reading something really good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So people back home, if you're interested in joining a reading group, we have one right here in
We've
town.
got one.
Thanks, Chris.
Hi, thank you.
I'll come in tomorrow and sign that.
Okay.
I know. You really buy books still today.
Yes.
License being hold it.
After years of e-books, that's what I realized too. I actually like a physical book a lot better now.
I like my floating bid. I'm always afraid I'll drop my milk in the pool.
Right.
Marilyn?
We had bids from
Oh, there's one of these for each of us?
Yes.
And then I'll just pass me theirs.
No, this is whole packet. This is whole.
No, they all say the same thing.
Oh,
I screwed up.
well, how-
Not enough remedial training here.
I'm sorry.
No, you're just so organized, nobody knew what he was.
Look at that.
I have another one. I have another one. The other one over here. I forgot for Katrina. And this one. We have two different bids. And possibly, I would like to, in executive session, to discuss them.
Exactly. Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session with Marilyn Sherman in contractual matter, the disclosure at this time which might be detrimental to the town and or companies, individuals involved.
Second.
So moved and seconded to go into executive session with Marilyn Sherlin on a contractual matter, the disclosure of which at this time could be detrimental to the town and or individuals and companies involved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7:06. I like that. The motion was made to go in executive session at 7:06 on a contractual matter, came out at 7:15, no action taken.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Harris,
I make the motion that we award the bid for painting the Tyler Cemetery fence to Southern Vermont Painting and Restoration for the sum not to exceed $23,900, and that we award the bid for the Whitehead Cemetery and North Cemetery to Suzanne Valiberté, not to exceed $7,350 for the Whitehead and $95.50 for North Cemetery to be held until next year.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to award the bid to Southern Vermont Painting and Restoration for the Tyler Cemetery not to exceed $23,900, and to Suzanne Liberté for the Whitehead Cemetery not to exceed $73,500, and next year to the North Cemetery not to exceed $9,550. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And another thing,
Yes,
I can change hats to
You can.
town service officer.
you can change hats anytime you want.
I got, from applications I received from Green Mountain Power Discount Energy Assistance Program for low-income Vermonters. And if you need help paying electric bill, Green Mountain Energy has an assistance thing, and it's 25% discount off the monthly charge for the first 600 kilowatt hours. And it's income-based, so there's a 1, 2, 3-person income, and then an additional amount for more members than 3. And I left applications upstairs in the town clerk's office.
Well, thank you very much.
So, that is it.
And thank you again for all your hard work on the cemetery bids and all you do. Okay. Katrina, you said you sent emails to Todd, you didn't hear a response?
I had not heard, I sent it to the 2 email addresses that I have.
He may be on vacation.
One
It's
is
just that
home
time
and
of
one
year.
is the fire
Yeah.
department, and I didn't hear anything back.
Okay, so we're gonna pass over that, because he obviously is not around. Okay, we are going to go to the auditor's letter. As I'm sure you've all read, the auditors are looking for, they're kind of changing the dynamics of the auditor's office and how they're gonna do work. And are going to be sending copies of the audit reports to the select board so that we can stay in touch with what's going on. It's something that's really never been done before, so we really appreciate their efforts and their willingness to do this for us so that everybody has a better handle as to what's going on with town funds. It was also asked too, any ideas of anything that the select board would like to see audited and you know, above, think outside the box, you know, things that we don't normally see audited, you know, we have the gas, that's never, is to my knowledge, audited. There's just different little things that don't get touched that much that might be interesting to see an audit on. So if anybody has any ideas, you can just email me or email the auditors, and we will, if you email me, obviously I'll pass it on to them, or if you want to email them yourselves. But, you know, just try to think out of the box, things that don't normally rise to the top level where we see audits on. Okay? And also, there's been some conversation through the town audit that's being done about the Cusick Scholarship. And there are some issues with it according to the audit that's been done. And I think, Sandy, you have some explanation on if I can find that paper, I just had it.
Yes, the ones that there was not verification, that verification is a verbal verification on each one of these from the registrar of each particular school. That's why there was not a paper.
So there was a verbal
So there was a verbal
verification.
yes.
Katrina, if you could send an email to the auditor's office letting them know that, and to the town clerk's office too, because Susan was the one who actually brought this to my attention. But there are some issues.
This is verbal verification of college transcripts, is that what we're
Yeah,
referring to?
Now,
not just the transcripts, but, you're right, the transcripts getting in, how many hours they had taken.
Oh, okay.
but you see where scholarship recipients' application were missing intake verification, dates and signatures to confirm receipt. Are those ones that you made phone calls for?
No, when they come in, if they, we didn't always sign them in, as long as they were in before that date, they were just put in.
Okay.
Right.
So that's more kind of record-keeping kind of stuff that can be done by the town clerk. Now, there was a question too about the kids have to verify that they're going to be at school the second half of the year by January 15th. Okay, so they leave school for Christmas break somewhere around mid-December and don't go back until after January 15th. So that makes it difficult, because when they reach finals week for the first half of the year, there's a lot of people that aren't around as we all remember, you know, I mean, everybody's kind of leaving early for Christmas vacation, and students are leaving, so offices aren't staffed as well. So it has become difficult, and the suggestion was made to try to move the dates. And another suggestion that was made when we had the meeting the other day was, right now, the checks go to the kids. And I know that at one time it went to the school, and I know it flipped back, and you know, unfortunately, people come and go and changes are made. So there's always a history of why things were changed or why they used to be done, you know, that way, and now they're done this way. But the suggestion was made that it's probably better to send the check to the school. Now, I know as a parent whose kids have gotten that scholarship going to college, you know, we did our through the student tuition assistance, so they paid for the school year, and then we paid a monthly payment, and that's how we did it. So by the time the scholarship came out, we had already had to take that money out. So that money was used for books, and I think that that's why some of these changes have been made in how that scholarship is handed out. Is that,
It was umpteen years ago. It was sent to the home. And then there was.
in the beginning of the year?
It-
At one time, they used to get it
Right.
first, the beginning of the
Right.
semester.
And then what was happening is there were some that got it, but didn't go to school and did not return the money. And then, they switched it to, it was going to be in January they would get the money.
And still be sent to the home.
And it was sent to the home. But then there was a problem again, so they sent it to the school. But then a lot of parents had already paid, and they asked many of the parents asked if it could be sent to them at their home. Since they have switched it back, I do not know, and maybe this year there was a problem of any that did not go. Because with the verification, when they do the verification, the registrar has to sign off how many credit hours, or they had to tell us verbally, how many credit hours that student was registered for the second semester. And so it wasn't just the student saying, I'm taking
Right.
15 hours. It had to be verified with seal or verbally to the registrar himself. And as to moving the date, you're right, they do go back. And yet there are some parents that they're concerned because they need that money and second semester's already started. And it's a conundrum because you have some trimesters.
Right, like Northeastern is a
Yeah.
trimester.
And
I received the scholarship personally, and at that time it was, had to go to school, and it was in January.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's what happened with my kids too. They had to get signatures in January, nobody's around, so they actually got their signatures in December before they left school.
We used to send out the verification forms so that the kids, we sent it to the kids at school in November, and we sent it to them at home before Thanksgiving break, so the parents had it
To remind them, okay.
Because kids get that at school, and, especially when they get it, they're winding up to finals, and they're
Finals.
just, their lives are crazy, and,
When the parents know the money's coming, they're up to, make sure.
That the forms get signed
so
properly.
Sandy, you've read all of this, and as somebody who's been so involved in this scholarship for so many years, do you have any ideas of how? I mean, maybe we should have a meeting with the select board and the scholarship committee,
That would be good.
and kind of talk through this and find out, because it has to be tightened up, because there are kids that are getting the money and not going back to school.
I mean, that ruins it for all of us.
And
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate thing, 1 out of 500 kids ruins it for everybody.
Because, I mean, town meeting people will question, well, why do we keep putting money into this,
Right.
and it's not properly used in some cases.
I am impressed with the students that will call and say, I didn't go.
Really?
We have some really good ethical people in this town. That they would call and say, I didn't go second semester, I'm not sure I'm gonna go second semester, so don't put me down for that, And you can be really proud of the students. And the parents.
Yeah, it does say that the 2 of the recipients showed half-time attendance for first semester, but they were both received full-time amounts.
That's probably because they went more,
Full-time second semester, so they got the whole amount.
they would have gotten 3/4.
I think most of the issue here
She went
is,
full-time, I know that for a fact.
yeah, I do too, that's why I said that. I know she was in, I don't know about the other one, but I know she was in full-time.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know
So
what
we
the,
could call
what the
them and say
hiccup
they
is
had
there.
gone.
Because in order to be a full-time student, they have to have 4,
They have a minimum of 12 hours, credit hours per semester.
which is normally 4 courses.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing how many students take 20 courses.
Wow.
20 credits.
Well, we've already approved the scholarship for this year for the students. So why don't we see if, it's summertime, so a lot of the people that are involved in the school aren't around right now. So why don't we see if we can have a combined school board, select board meeting in the early fall? and we can discuss this, and it's really school board, the chair of the select board, and the town clerk that are involved in this, so maybe Susan can come to that meeting also, and we can kind of look through this and decide, how we can tighten it up, but, I don't want to tighten it up to the point where it hurts the kids that are doing the right thing, because the majority of them are doing the right thing.
And if they're not, we should be sending them a bill.
Right, absolutely. If we find out that there's kids getting this scholarship and,
That's why we should have the bill. And any changes that we make to the guidelines, we can make suggested changes, but they have to be approved by the
voters.
And I think it's coming up for ratification again within the next year or so, anyway.
Okay.
Guidelines. I'm not sure.
Well, it's something we should talk about, because there are guidelines, I think that, we can make sure, things we can make sure are happening that are really already part of the guidelines, without waiting for town meeting. Like I said, most of these are record-keeping issues, making sure that the kids get the information that they're supposed to, and maybe we shouldn't do any more verbal,
Right,
with the schools. It's a great scholarship for these kids to get,
it is.
and I know it's a pain in the neck.
Well, schools don't do a lot of verbal. You usually have to have a lot of written stuff for,
Right,
for
so
schools.
to actually go have
Yeah.
these documents signed,
Yeah.
I think is not asking too much, and we could send a letter out to the students saying, no scholarship money will be given. There will be no more verbal verification. The scholarship money will not be given unless this paperwork is signed. But I do think we need to talk about the timing of all of the paperwork needing to be signed, so that we are giving the kids a break. I mean, you can't ask by January 15th when they don't go back to school till January 20th. And I
Right.
think we're better off waiting until they're actually back in school and getting that signed
Yeah.
document, so we know that they've gone back to school. They, didn't get the check and then just say, I'm not going back, I can't afford it, or
Right.
Well,
it's
I mean, it's a substantial amount of money that should become a minor inconvenience to get. a
Absolutely.
signature.
To take,
And that was-
take
that was-
a couple pieces of paper around, yeah.
If it's too much hassle, then don't take the money.
they don't take the money, and that was really the conversation. And like I said, Jeff, I think, 99.9% of these kids are doing things exactly the way they're supposed to do them, so we need to tighten up the one or two that's not doing the right thing, and, pull their scholarship once, and they'll learn the second year to get things in when they need to be in.
How many students are we talking about per year?
30 to 40.
Okay, so it actually is possible to sort of schedule things
That's
around
the
what they
list.
need.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the list right there.
The salary is really, really, really good. Sarah and Cindy are going back through everything and checking to make sure they didn't get it more years than they should, or they only have half a year more to get it,
Okay.
Yeah, they do a really good job of. Now, let me ask you something, Sandy, because I got really confused about this in my memory, what the rules were, and is it just that you have to have lived in Vernon for a certain amount of years, or that you have had to attend Vernon Elementary
You
School?
had to have been able to attend Vernon schools.
Able, okay. So that's what, because I was thinking it was you had to attend Vernon School, because I knew it was more than middle school, high school, that you had to be here. So-
Would it be fair to anybody homeschool?
Right, and that came up in the conversation too, and I was like, yeah, so that can't possibly be the language, because I know kids that went to other schools for elementary school have gotten this scholarship, so I just couldn't remember how it was. So you actually have to have been elementary school age living here,
Or if you had 6 years, you had 7th,
7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, wouldn't,
That's right.
so you'd have to have actually been here 7 years, because in order to have been able to attend Vernon Elementary School.
so it's, but I think it's 6 years you have to be in here, so. So if you came here at the beginning of 7th grade, you'd be eligible.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring out, that it's just not, you show up in town and.
Right.
Yeah, no, you have to, yeah. And I knew you had to have been here at a younger age, but I just couldn't remember how that language was written. And it's been so long. So think about, some issues you'd like the auditors to look at, and I'd like to thank the auditors for the willingness to work with the select board and, you know, try to improve on how we do things for people in town. So, thank you to the auditors. Police security camera upgrade. This is yours.
At our last meeting, we ratified putting, or allowing the police department to put a security camera on the town office building in order for surveillance to our cruisers. Chief Hebert consulted with Mr. Alexander of Home Security Services after that, and he had recommended upgrading to a little better surveillance camera, better monitor, DVR recorder than what Chief Hebert had originally picked out as part of the kit. The quote that Mr. Alexander from HSS provided Chief Hebert, the original one that we ratified was for $800. This one is for $1,422.98. And if you recall, Chief Hebert originally had about $1,800 in the grant that was not going to be used. She had no other plans for it. It expires in September. And so again, the town would have a better security camera and system at still at no cost to the town. Mr. Alexander of Home Security Services has kindly agreed to install it at no cost to the town. So the installation cost is covered. And I think we just need to ratify it.
I don't think we need to ratify it, we need to change the vote. Because we don't want to ratify it, we haven't already approved it. So what we want to do is change our last vote from the $800 to $1,422.98 being done by HSS Security.
Second.
Now I have to repeat all that.
You did so well.
It's been moved and seconded to change our vote from, I was just trying to find my minutes, June 18th, on the security system for the police department from $800 to $1,422.17, sorry, $1,422.98 to be done by HSS Security. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Jeff, for all your work on this, and Chief Hebert for all her work on it.
No, she did all the lifting.
Well, you had to do all the talent, so thank you both. Okay, old business, but we're just making our way through
Coming
here
along.
today. FOIA project bid spec approval. We did vote to put the spec out after the changes that were suggested by Dale were made. We did vote outside of the meeting to allow the spec to be the RFP to go out, sorry. Because we want to get the work started and the building tied up before the cold weather comes, and we all know that that's going to happen before we know it, unfortunately, even though it's sweltering outside. So Dale did work with Mike and Phil Savoy to make the proper changes. Dale has also offered, and we all know he has so many years of experience in the construction industry as a supervisor and a clerk of the works and all of that. And he did offer to volunteer his time to be the clerk in conjunction with Mike Coughlin. So to kind of keep an eye on the progress and what's being done. It's awfully nice of him to volunteer his time because we all know he's a very, very busy man, but I think it's reassuring for all of us to know that the project's going to be done properly. So if we can have a motion to appoint him clerk of the works in conjunction with Mike Coughlin, that would be acceptable.
So moved.
Do we need to ratify the decision to put the RFP on?
We do.
Okay.
So they both need to be done, they can both be done at the same time.
Okay,
Now the amendment,
I move that we ratify
the RFP.
the RFP and
For
that
Phil-
we,
for the construction of
the
the
construction of the
project.
FOIA project, and I also move that we appoint Dale as the clerk of the project, along with Mike Coughlin.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the approval of the RFP for the FOIA project and to appoint Dale, oh my goodness,
Gassett.
Gassett, to be clerk of the works along with Mike Coughlin for the project. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do you have the Gassett's email?
I do.
Could you send them an email saying that the select board thanks them profusely for their offer and that we have voted to make him, along with Mike Coughlin, the clerk of the works?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, we have ordinance policies on here.
I'm not sure why it was on there, other than we have them ready to be, signed. They have to be signed, and then posted. And that's where
Now,
we-
Janet wasn't here when we worked on the policies.
Right, Robert, but everybody else was, so we
Everybody
needed
else was,
three.
yeah.
You needed the three. Robert was here at that time, so
But
his
she
name
can
is still
also-
on there.
Yeah, she's here now, so I mean,
But because you talked about him in a meeting where
she wasn't
she
here.
wasn't,
so
and that's
it-
when you adopted him. You adopted him on June 4th of 2012.
Have you gotten everything back from the attorney?
I have not. But I'm going I went back and looked through minutes to recreate, all the ordinances anyways were not on electronic copy, just so we're clear about that. We don't seem to have any electronic copy ordinances, so they needed to be retyped in order to be published, in order to make the changes and to be published.
They need to be, or they
No,
did
they
need
needed to be.
Yeah, you've
Yep, and
already
I've
done
done
all
that.
of that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
So-
and so really,
We're ready to post.
Okay,
And we had some that were being done away with.
Yes, and those, what I did was I typed up a sheet of paper for each one saying, on this date, the board repealed, and I put the actual motion. And I'm going to file it in the policy book, so that if there's ever a question,
But don't they have to be posted so that people can appeal our repealing?
yes. So there'll be one sheet that will have all of those on there, all the repeals. And then we had some policies, not ordinances.
Mhm.
So we're talking about kind of two different things too. We had some policies that we repealed. I don't know, those don't have to be posted. So it's just the ordinances.
Ordinances, right.
Ordinances are the only ones that have to
So
be
you can
posted.
appeal a repeal?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You can,
For an ordinance, yes.
for an ordinance, not for a policy. So we had some policies that were transferred to other places. One of those policies, I am still working on, the dog ordinance. We transferred a policy, you wanted to put the policy, you wanted it included in the dog ordinance. So that's taken me a little bit more of a long
And some
time.
of the, I haven't brought them in yet, there was some major changes with the dog stuff, so.
Maybe we need to look at that one again before I do all that work on it.
Okay, why don't we table this then until our next meeting? Well, our next meeting in August is the town meeting.
It's a town meeting, and I'm also
Right.
not going to be here.
Right.
But
So
Carol
let's
is
do-
going to
Let's
come.
do the second meeting in August then.
Are we having something?
I didn't think
Oh,
we
that's
were
right,
having
we're
one,
not. So
not
let's-
till
Let's do the
September.
first in September then. And if you could electronically send everything
Yep.
to Janet, although she will not sign them because she was not here when we
But she should
ratified
know
them.
them, right.
She should
Right.
know
I'd
what
like
they
to-
are.
Sure.
Great.
And before we, finish everything, she could, if she has questions and stuff, she would
Right.
be able to ask.
And I'd
that's
like to
only
make them a
fair
little
her.
bit more consistent. I know it's not something you talked about in the meetings, but each one of these, because of the date of them, sometimes they're worded differently. Sometimes they have the select board signatures on them, sometimes they don't, sometimes they just had a person's
noticed that.
name on there.
Yeah.
And I'd like to try to make them consistent. If we're gonna do these electronically, we might as well make them all the same format. So I'd like it to say on there when it, is recorded at the town clerk's office. And that's just a line item that then Susan just fills in and signs, dates and signs.
I would like to definitely have these done by September.
Okay.
So that anything that needs to be warned or posted it can be
So
done.
Sandy, maybe we can get together and talk about the dog ordinance changes so that we can bring that back before the board you could bring it back on the 5th if you wanted to, but we could bring it back to have it approved. That one, like I said, you're combining a policy into an
Into an
ordinance,
ordinance.
and if there's some changes, now's the time to do it,
Right, right.
not duplicate the work.
But we've waited long enough for
Yeah.
everybody else. Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
I have no more patience with waiting for people,
Yeah,
so,
and I have a lot of them that are ready to be signed,
okay.
so.
So we will, do you have them with you tonight?
I have some of them with me tonight. I don't have all of them, but I have some of them with me, printed out.
Do you want to look at the ones that she has tonight and decide to sign them, or would you rather just have everybody look at everything all at
Well, it would
once?
be easier to, maybe if you did it all at once.
If you did it all at once, it will be
I think it's a
easier,
little less
but,
confusing.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then these books that you guys each have, we need to get rid of them, because I pulled out a binder out of here and said, okay, well, there's stuff missing out of here. When we were going through them, we probably pulled them out and said, oh, we're repealing this, and we got rid of it. But what I've done is, with that sheet of paper, is I've put it in front of what was repealed. So you have about, like if you decided you ever wanted to go back and have that policy again, you'd have it in written format, so you'd be able to do it.
So, these books that we have,
They're not updated.
okay,
Yeah, so they're not, I just need to collect them all, and then give, once you
Okay.
guys have, in September, gone through, we'll have two new ordinance, policy books there, and then you'll each have a book. And I think you talked about in one of the meetings, putting out a book for the public,
Yeah.
some kind of,
and putting it on the new website.
and it will go on the new, all your ordinances should go on the website
yeah.
anyways. I mean,
That's
that-
why I want all this done, because
Yeah.
the website will be done by then, and we can
It'll be
just put everything
perfect.
on right at once, and it'll all be done after probably about 12, 14 years of waiting,
Yeah,
so.
minutes,
Wow.
agendas, minutes,
It's been- yeah,
agendas,
it has
supporting
been longer than
documents, you could put things, there's a lot of stuff that can go on that website that will just make
Right.
life so much easier for
I
everybody.
definitely want the minutes and the agendas
Well,
and stuff
it
on
def,
there.
that really
Yeah.
should go, and one of the complications I kind of ran into with the minutes were done before the 5 days, and I asked Susan to date stamp the minutes, so we have proof that they were received prior to the 5 days, so date stamp and sign. The problem was that she wanted to date stamp and sign them the date that she opened up the minutes, the email. And sometimes she doesn't open it up until after. So like I had sent them in, you all got them the day that we sent them, it was 3 days later. And so I asked her to date stamp them, and it was 2 additional days, or even 3, before she opened that email. And wanted to date stamp them with that. So I talked to her today about actually, her email comes through, it has the date,
the date
and it
on
has the time,
Mhm.
and I'd asked her to date stamp them with that date and time, not the date that she actually gets to, because if she's on vacation,
Right.
or, then it could be, and then that really doesn't prove that we had them. Now you have to go back and look through emails, and
And that could cause some
It could
future
cause some problems, so-
Absolutely, they need to be,
So-
especially if they're being done within the 5 days, which by law we need to.
right. And so I wanted to make sure that we had some proof that we had done that, but you certainly don't want to go back, I'm having some problems now going back through emails. You certainly don't want to go back through 1,500 emails to prove that they came in. It would be so much easier if, when she gets them, she can date stamp them based on that email, date and time.
So she needs to print one and date stamp the physical copy?
Yeah,
Because
she
there
prints
is
it and
something-
puts, right,
All right,
right. She
'cause-
prints it and puts it on good paper. We
Okay.
call it good paper. And that's the draft, and that's our first recording of the minutes. And so I asked her to date stamp that as proof that they had come in before the 5 days.
Okay, because
So we
there
don't-
is something available now for municipalities, I'll ask the website designers, where you can get an e-date stamp, which as soon as you open the email, it will automatically,
But if she's not
Except,
opening
but
it-
if she's not opening the email until after
Right.
the 5 days, then it's date stamping 5 days later. And that was kind of the problem. They were in 3 days after the meeting, but the town office is not open on a Friday, and it's not
Oh,
open on a
right.
Saturday, and it's not open on a Sunday, so it was Monday at 12:45 or 2:45
Okay.
before she opened the email.
and I'll see if there's a way of modifying that. The website people will know, that maybe you can automatically
But if she
stamp it
just
when it
date
comes
stamps
in.
it based on look, I mean,
If she
her
can do
email, I
that,
looked at her
yeah.
email today, it shows the date and the time. And
Cool,
and so
okay.
and she was fine with that. So just so we have, that proof that
Yeah.
we've done them in that time frame. That was my only concern, so.
Yeah, and that does pose a problem where the town office isn't open on Friday, and, you're right, you get the
I mean,
bare
5 days,
Thursday afternoon.
5
which
days
is-
technically is Saturday. I mean, if you wanted to push it all the way to
Sure.
the 5 days, it's Saturday. And
Well,
the
it's
town
5
office.
business days though, right?
No, it is 5
It is
days.
5 days, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
because
accurate.
I questioned that too, whether it was 5 business days or 5 days, and it is 5 days. So that would be a Saturday. Of course, town clerk's office isn't open on Saturday, and they don't open again until the following Monday. So my goal is to have them within that 3-day range, and so that she'll have them in time, but.
But even still, within the 3-day range, it's Thursday afternoon at 2:00.
Exactly.
If they're at a meeting
Or if somebody's
really
on
busy
vacation
and they don't
or-
get to all
right.
of the emails, which I know happens to me at work all the time, or,
Right.
that kind of thing, then, again, the.
So that worried me, and so I talked to her about it today, and she's more than happy to, because it does say in her email the date and the time. She's more than happy to
Yeah.
date stamp it based on that.
Okay,
Okay.
well, that's good, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about the Cusick Scholarship Guidelines. Could you send the school board a email and ask them if they would be willing to have a joint meeting between the school and select board in September to talk about the Cusick Scholarship and how we might be able to work on the language a little bit to tighten it up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, employee meeting questions, discussions.
Here's your copies. It's 2 pages.
I already have a.
You have one?
Oh,
Okay, then
I'll
I can
take
take
it anyway.
that.
Then I don't have to unbury it. Can you keep that? And Katrina, why did you put this bid policy thing in here?
Oh, I did it just in case you wanted to just verify that.
Okay.
3-day.
all right. Thank you.
Yep.
So this was the town meeting that we held with VLCT, Hank Lambert. I don't think that there's any surprises in here. My suggestion is, there is a second meeting we could hold, and it's a meeting that talks about basically chain of command by statute. What are the select board's duties, what are the auditor's duties, what are the lister's duties, what are the treasurer's duties? I don't think librarian would be in there because they're really kind of a separate entity from the rest of us. But how things filter down. I have talked to Abby Freeman, and that was really kind of her suggestion that we go that route and, take this that last step. I think it was a good first step to get people talking. I think it's really important to hold these kinds of, I know we as a select board got an awful lot out of it last year, and from what I've heard from the town employees, many of them, you get the same old micromanaging, there are some people you're just never gonna get around. But this town needs to function seamlessly. And I think the people who are paying taxes in this town deserve that. And I do feel like that there's a better understanding since we held this meeting. And I think that there's another step that we could go. So, I want you to think about that. I will continue my conversations with Abby. I think the big thing is gonna be how expensive it is, because I don't really know that yet. And we're running out of, we are at the new fiscal year, so we could spend some money on that. But I really think it's important.
Seamlessly is a good goal.
Right.
It is a good goal. It really is. I mean, we are,
Shoot a little higher than just good enough.
Reasonably well, yeah.
you know, this, especially the town picnic, I mean, you were there, Jeff. I mean, it was just awesome. And we do live in an absolutely wonderful town, and we are really fortunate to live in this town. But we do have to make sure that the people who are being paid by the taxes in this town and the select board, the two groups, are working in the most positive manner that we can for the people in this town. I think that's important for the future of this town. There are a lot of decisions that are going to be made in the next few years. We don't know what they are. We don't have a crystal ball, but we all have to be aware of it, and we all have to try to work for one common goal, and that's the betterment of the people in this town. So I will continue to find out how much it is, and we can maybe make that decision at our select board meeting we have the night of the town meeting.
So, can you clarify a little more so you talked to the representative of VLTC?
Abby Friedman she's actually the person that we've talked to all along. Hank Lambert was sent down here because this was his specialty, team building, motivation,
So it's really, it's a matter of open up some communication, but it's not really just say, okay, well, that's good enough, thanks. Time to have this follow-up.
Right, because just opening up the communication isn't enough, because if you don't take that step forward, it doesn't take long before the communication gets closed again. We've all been here,
I think his plan when he came and the people attending had a different plan, and his plan was not the plan that went out of that meeting.
That's interesting.
And he kind of had to change,
Change the presentation.
he had to change
to fit the audience.
his presentation, yeah.
But it did bring things around though, right?
Oh, it did, absolutely, but his direction, his lesson plan that he was working from wasn't gonna work.
Fortunately, he was flexible to adapt.
Well, the
To
meeting
the
kind of came down
situation.
to,
He got made flexible.
from my understanding of it, and even reading the drafts, it was kind of, it went from finger pointing to saying, okay, how do we solve these problems? And I'll just use this as an example, not to say that this was one of the things that happened, but a department gets mad because of the decision the select board's making. So right away, the select board's micromanaging, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they're bad people, and they're rotten people. But yet, this has been an issue that's been going on for 20 years.
Right.
And the select board has not been the same for 20 years. So where's the bottom of the issue? It isn't a body of people, it's all of the people. And how do we work together to make this a better community? And that was my feeling of what came out, instead of pointing the finger and blaming other departments or other groups, say, okay, how do we solve this problem? How do we become members of the team? How do we work together to make this better? And that was from reading the draft of and that's all we have right now is the summary, draft summary. But from reading that, that's what I got out of the meeting. Now, none of the select board attended the meeting on purpose, because we wanted it to be a true employee meeting. Now, I'm not sure the second one would be like that. I think the second one would be more, this is the chain of command.
Right, and that's what he had said too, that there was somebody that can come down and that they can do those things. They can outline exactly, this is your job, and this is your job, and this is how they fit together, and then this is what you do. And I think, I know it was pointed out that day too, that if I have a problem, if I don't come and express that, along with some type of a solution, which is what you should do.
Right.
Instead of going around grumbling about it, then you can't resolve it regardless of what that problem is, or who's understanding or misunderstanding, or whatever the circumstances are of that, because it may not even be a problem at all. It may be someone's misunderstanding of the situation.
And, you know, to me, town government needs to run like a business. You know, we're not
It is a
a,
business.
right, we're not a town clerk's office, an auditor's office, a treasurer's office, we're a business. And our business is doing the service of the town. That is our business. So we can't live in silos and be successful doing this. You can't live in a silo and say, well, they're not doing this.
Right.
You know, well, have you gone to them and said, gee, this would make your life easier. I could help you this way. Could you help me that way? You know, and that's a lot of what needs to go on. They also need to know that, you know, I've heard a lot, you know, well, I went to this department, they don't listen to me. There's a real difference between listening and being
hearing.
able to, right, hearing what you're saying and having to do what you want to do, because maybe their function, their job is not the same. You know, and again, I'll keep using us just because I'd rather have us be the whipping post than to, you know, to use a department. But say a department comes in here and they say, we think the town would run better if you painted all the walls red. You know, well, you know, we're listening to what you're saying, we're welcoming you here, but there might be a reason why we can't paint the walls red.
It could be red costs 3 times as much
As white,
blue and-
right, or, you know,
There's a larger picture.
There may
than
be,
just
right, there may be
painting bar.
a number of reasons that it can't be, besides money, besides whatever. There may be other reasons, but you may not understand the job of, right, that office or that department or exactly what it is I do. So,
because we all have statutory functions.
Right.
I mean, under state law, there are statutory functions for each one of these departments, for the treasurer's office, the auditor's office, the select board. We all have statutory functions that we have to serve
right,
by law. And because, you know, the statute may say, you can't paint the town hall walls red, but the other department doesn't know that, we do. So because we're not painting the walls red, doesn't mean we're not listening to you. It's because we're doing the job from the side of the fence that we have to do our job on. And that, to me, was a lot of how the conversation went. Am I right?
yes, yes.
Those are the reports I got.
Right, right. But I mean, you know, once you explain that, then everyone understands. But I still think, you know, the thing is, don't come to you and complain that I think the walls should be painted red if I don't have a solution for painting the walls red either.
Right.
Or if you come and then you just go back and say, but they said we can't paint the walls red and I don't know why.
Right.
And we all say, okay, but maybe you could paint them pink, or maybe there's a way around this, but if it never gets to that, then everyone's unhappy, sure.
I think that's a good point as far as operating with a business mind, because it's a multi-million-dollar budget, different departments and so forth. Fortunately or unfortunately, there are a number of other requirements as a municipality that it's not a business.
Right.
And there's elected positions and so forth, and ultimately, whether you're a town employee or elected official, it's a customer service job.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it certainly pays to remember who the customer is periodically in the course of your workday.
Mhm.
And, it's people that pay the taxes, the people that elect you.
And we all have bosses, Jeff. You and I both own our own business, but we have bosses. My bosses are my customers. You know, I may not like having to listen to what they say, but if I don't listen to what they say, I don't have customers. You're the same way. You know, you have people you have to answer to. That's
Cows-
life.
Our cows are our bosses.
Well,
If they're happy, we're happy.
but you have people you have to deal with in your business, that it has to be a partnership and a teamwork in order for your business to be successful. Mine's the same way. We have vendors we use, it has to be a partnership, it has to be a teamwork in order for my business to be successful. That's the same thing
and
here.
we're all performing dance steps we don't always enjoy
Absolutely.
performing, but
Absolutely. I
we
mean,
do, because
there are a lot of
there's a
days I would
paycheck
just like to
involved.
say, you know what?
Yeah, absolutely,
But,
absolutely.
But that's life, and I think we do have some serious decisions to make in the future in this town, and we really need to come together. And, you know, we can't always be the bad guy, because we have decisions we have to make, you know, and if a department wants to overspend their budget, we have to say, no, I'm sorry. You can't do that, because we're held responsible to the taxpayers. And people need to understand that. So there is that chain of command. It's not just that this department doesn't like you, so they're saying no to you. There's a reason for everything, and in order for us to function well, we have to start working more as a team. And these decisions are gonna have to be made as a team.
The department should be responsible to the taxpayer to start with, not to overspend their budget.
Absolutely. So we shouldn't be the bad guy when we say, I'm sorry, you've overspent your budget, now you have to cut somewhere else. But you're right. So, you know, I think it's come a long way. I think it's been a very successful endeavor, but I still think, you know, I just don't want to start these conversations and then close the door, because I don't think that that helps us to be
'Cause
successful.
then you go backwards.
Then you go backwards, and then everybody forgets. That's why I've left this stuff up on the wall for a year and a half now, because it's a constant reminder to us of that meeting that we had, the things that we said, our concerns, where we wanted to bring the future, and those are important things. Those are very important goals, objectives, and, you know, and how do we improve town government?
Sure, because otherwise, like, well, we had this meeting, we talked about what the issues were, and then it just died.
Right, right.
And that's a waste of taxpayers' money.
And then we go back
Absolutely.
to, they don't listen to what I say.
Right, right.
So,
It's important to find out how you feel.
and I think it's important to take that next step and now combine, because we are the ultimate decision maker. Whether other people are elected officials or not, eventually, the select board, by statute, is the ultimate decision maker. Not any other department in town government, not any other elected official in town government. The select board is the ultimate decision maker, and people need to understand that.
And I think that's probably a very good point about involved parties knowing what their authority is, what their responsibilities are, and so that all people in town government, town employees understand the limits or what is required in your positions.
Right.
And so, I mean, obviously there's some confusion. People change, select boards change, town employees change, elected officials come and go. And oftentimes you don't really know, I don't think it's any disgrace to not know exactly what your job is. Sometimes it's a matter of being in a year and figuring it out. But I think it would be a good starting point for people involved to fully understand their purpose in this community.
Because it's easy not to. I don't know, when I'm, as the newbie on the team, you know, when I got my select member's handbook and started actually reading it, this is way complicated. This involves a lot more than I thought it did. Now, you know, I've lived in town for long enough to know what I thought a select board did.
You're
So,
walking the parade and wave.
that's right. That's right.
That was the easy part.
So if I don't, you know, unless you're willing to commit to, if everybody in town is willing to commit to sitting down and reading this, how would you really know what everybody's responsibilities are?
Right. And I think that's an important second step. I think that this was a good start, but I think that that's an important second step. And you know, I know that in this town, we hear the word micromanage an awful lot, to the point where I'm sick to death of hearing micromanage, but you know, we are responsible for this town budget. And that's the end of it. The taxpayers have entrusted us with this budget. And we have a responsibility to make sure things are done the way that they're supposed to be done. Whether it's an elected official or an employee, it doesn't matter. It's our responsibility. And I take that responsibility very seriously because, you know, I sat out through the budget process last year. I know people who have lost their jobs,
Yeah.
who aren't working right now and are struggling to pay their taxes. And so we have to, above all times in probably Vernon's history, this is one of the hardest economic times we've had. And people really need to know that every dime is being spent properly. And the only way we can know that is if we're all working together as a team. And if we say, gee, no, you can't do this, it's not because we're micromanaging, it's because we're responsible for this budget. That's why we say, no, you can't do this. So, anyway, I think we need to make that second step, and I will continue to have my conversation with Abby. And I think we're probably better, I hate to keep putting everything off till September, but it is almost mid-July. Breaks my heart, summer goes by so fast. And vacations are just, everybody's vacations are different. So I think we're better off waiting till September. Gives people time to digest the meeting that we've had, think about things, and then we can go on to the next step. So I will talk to Abby about setting something up in September.
So she would actually come down and lead a
She
combined
won't come
meeting?
down, but somebody, Vermont League of Cities and Towns has a whole bunch of people that work for them that specialty is something different. Like Hank's specialty was this team building meeting that we had. But there are other people that work at Vermont League of Cities and Towns that really specialize in, what is statutorily your job? What's the chain of command? What are the responsibilities of the select board? What are the responsibilities of the lister? What are they understand all of that, and they actually go into other towns, and they hold these forums with
great.
the employees, with the elected officials, and say, this is how a good, proper Vermont town should function. These are the steps that should be taken. This is the chain of command. This is the responsibility of the select board, or yeah, you are micromanaging, although I'll never use that word when I'm...
But I think you need to know what that word means before you...
There's a difference between managing and micromanaging. You're right. If I was micromanaging, I'd go into every department and tell them how to set their schedules, what they need to do during their day of work. You're not micromanaging by saying, no, I'm sorry, you have to bring your budget to me. We're not going to approve this budget. We want you to cut your budget by 10%.
Right.
That's not micromanaging. That's doing our job.
Right.
And that's where the mix-up
Or
is.
finding out what's going on within that department overall.
Right.
It's not-
Having departments come in and talk to the select board and let us know what's going on in their departments. That's not micromanaging. Actually, that's good for the people in this town, because the people
That's
who are
managing.
watching us on Access TV, like Chris tonight, how many people probably didn't even know we had ebooks here in our library, or how the library was functioning during the changes in technology have changed library services completely. But people hear library, they just think you go take out, Robinson Crusoe.
Right, it's a musty old book, right?
Yeah, so I think it's important for that stuff to happen. So, anyway,
And Abby Friedman is in charge of MAC, which is a Municipal Assistance Center.
Oh, all right, so she'll figure out who the right person is.
Yeah.
Okay.
she's very good. She's very good. I haven't actually met her face to face. I've talked to her quite a few times, but she's pretty informative. Okay. So that is the employee meeting. We will get onto that. I have a paper here that needs to be signed from Wyndham County Humane Society. Thank you. And just making them our place to go for our wayward animals.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the contract with Wyndham County Humane Society. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I only wrote the date all day. You'd think I'd remember it. Is it?
Huh?
Okay. Katrina, can I leave this with you?
Yeah, because I'd like to make a copy of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I always
because
give-
we'll need a copy for our records too.
I always give a copy to the
Let me-
auditors
Let me
too,
just put it
of
in
any
here so
contract.
it's a little easier for her. Thank you.
Yes, Sally's your good.
Yeah, I always give one to Sally and one to the auditors, any contract.
I think Susan gets one too, right?
She gets the original.
Yeah, she gets the original.
Okay.
Chris wanted,
Okay, yeah, Chris Howell brought up, when you go onto West Road, come off of Pond Road, you go onto West Road, it kind of curves. Well, I guess she's gotten a couple complaints from people that live on West Road that have been coming down the road when somebody else goes to go up. And I've noticed, if you're not going slow when you turn that corner, you can have a tendency to go over into the other lane. Their suggestion was either to put one of those rumble strips, which isn't gonna happen because that would be really expensive to bring that equipment into here to do a rumble strip for a small little piece of road, or just to paint yellow lines. I think we should ask David, I don't know what he has in his budget, but we certainly should ask him if he could put, even if he just does it, you know,
Freehand.
to the curve part, so people will kind of pay attention to that corner. Or something that they can put up, you know, to make people aware of it. So, if you want to send that, Eve, is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
I'll talk to him. I don't know how often he checks his email. But
Yeah.
this is, you'll have to, it's on West Road?
Yeah.
Okay,
The curve on Pond and West Road.
okay.
Cars going into the other lane. I guess a resident on West Road almost got hit from somebody going. Also, I think that's all I needed to be signed. Okay, we need to go into executive session,
Madam Chair, I move that the executive
possible litigation.
executive session, possible litigation, or disclosure of this matter of potential to the town and individuals involved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session on a pending litigation matter, the disclosure of which at this time might be detrimental to the town and/or individuals involved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And this will be the end of the meeting too, because we don't have any media tonight, so. I know, I have to stand up on the chair. Okay. Okay, we went into executive session at 8:50, came out at 9:10, no action taken. We have no media here tonight. So, one last time, I again would like to thank all of the people who worked so hard to make our town meeting so successful this year, for their time and energy and dedication to this town. And I hope everybody has a great summer. We will see you August 7th, 8th?
Just prior to the special town meeting, which will be at the school.
Prior to the special town meeting. I had to get the date right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
At the
Sorry.
school for our special town meeting, and the select board will meet before the meeting. The town meeting starts at...
You're meeting before? I thought you were meeting
Well, we're
after.
meeting after, yeah.
You're meeting
We're
after.
meeting after. See, you're confusing me.
I'm
Sorry.